Working at Atlantic Insurance never seemed particularly exciting to me, but it provided stability and good income. Every morning I would arrive at our Boston office, conduct client meetings, prepare reports, everything as it should be. In the evening, I would return to our cozy suburban home to my beloved wife, Emily. A typical American life, without any particular ups and downs. Emily and I met 5 years ago at a charity marathon. She worked as a nurse at the city hospital, full of energy and optimism. A year later, we got married, bought a house in Brookline, a quiet Boston suburb. I quickly became part of her family, especially after her father moved to Florida with his new wife. With my mother-in-law, Rebecca, things were initially complicated. She seemed too strict, perpetually dissatisfied with my attempts to joke at family dinners. But gradually the ice melted, especially when she also got a job at Atlantic Insurance, heading the marketing department. "Christopher, don't forget about the corporate party tonight," Rebecca reminded me, popping into my office Friday morning. "Your presence is mandatory. You're the lead client manager." "Yes, I remember. Too bad Emily can't come. She has the night shift." "No worries. You'll keep your old mother-in-law company," she smirked, and I noticed how attractive she looked when she smiled. The day flew by. In the evening, the Marriott Hotel welcomed us with festive decorations. The company didn't skimp on the Christmas party. Christmas lights sparkled everywhere. Waiters served champagne, and a jazz band played. "You look stunning," I said sincerely, seeing Rebecca in a black cocktail dress. She really did look good, slim figure, short haircut, elegant jewelry. "Thank you. You look good in a suit, too." She gave me an appraising look. "Shall we get something to drink?" We settled at the bar, and conversation flowed surprisingly easily. It turned out we had a lot in common, from loving old movies to enjoying skiing. Rebecca talked about her youth, traveling through Europe, how difficult it was for her after the divorce. "You know, I was initially against your marriage to Emily," she admitted after her third martini. "Thought you were just another upstart manager, but you turned out to be different." "How so?" I moved closer to hear her better over the party noise. "Genuine. There's no pretense in you." She looked straight into my eyes, and something stirred inside. Slow music started playing. I don't remember who suggested dancing first. Her hands rested on my shoulders. She smelled of expensive perfume and something indefinably exciting. We moved to the music, and with each minute it became harder to maintain distance. "It's too stuffy in here," Rebecca whispered. "Shall we step out to the terrace?" The December air was fresh and clean. Below, nighttime Boston twinkled with lights. Cars hummed somewhere in the distance. Rebecca shivered from the cold, and I draped my jacket over her shoulders. Our hands touched. I don't know who made the first move. Suddenly, we were kissing, forgetting everything in the world. Her lips were soft and demanding at the same time, her hands sliding along my back. "We shouldn't," I tried to object. "Shh." She pressed a finger to my lips. "Not tonight. Tonight we can do anything." The hotel room was dimly lit. At that moment, everything ceased to exist. Duty, morality, reality. There were only the two of us and our suddenly ignited passion. Time lost its usual course, dissolving in a whirlpool of feelings and emotions. This night became a point of no return, crossing out everything that came before. It was a magical night, full of passion and tenderness. We dissolved into each other, forgetting about prohibitions and consequences. Reality ceased to exist. There was only the heat of our bodies, ragged breathing, and endless desire. The first rays of sun found us exhausted, but happy. Only when morning light began to fill the room did reality start returning, bringing with it the realization of what had happened. "Oh, God!" Rebecca sat up in bed, holding her head in her hands. "What have we done?" I couldn't find the words. "A mistake, a huge mistake," she started, getting dressed hurriedly. "We must forget about this, for Emily's sake, for all of us." I silently watched her put herself together. Everything inside me contracted at the thought of having to erase this night from memory. "Agreed." She extended her hand for a businesslike handshake, as if we were making an ordinary deal. "Agreed," I answered, knowing I would never be able to forget her touch. At home, I found a note from Emily. "Darling, your favorite sandwich is in the fridge. I'll be back after my shift. Kiss." These simple words brought a lump to my throat. I sat in the kitchen, staring at one spot, trying to process what had happened. My phone was exploding with messages from colleagues with photos from the party. "Great night," they wrote. "If they only knew." Emily returned in the morning, tired after her night shift. "How was the corporate party?" she asked, kissing me on the cheek. "Fine, just a regular office party," I tried to speak casually. "How was your shift?" "Tough night, 2 emergency patients," she yawned. "Was Mom there? She's been kind of sad lately." I almost choked on my coffee. "Yes, she was. Seemed fine." "I'll visit her this evening," Emily stretched. "Want to come along?" "Sorry, lots of work," I lied. The thought of a family dinner with Rebecca seemed unbearable. At work, everything was falling apart. I missed an important meeting, made mistakes in reports. Colleagues attributed it to a hangover from the party. "Christopher, come see me." Rebecca's voice over the intercom sounded dry and official. She sat at her desk, impeccably dressed as always. Nothing reminded me of the woman who had passionately kissed me just hours ago. "We need to discuss the quarterly report," she began in a businesslike tone, but her hands shuffling papers were slightly trembling. "Rebecca," I started. "Work matters only," she interrupted. "Everything else is irrelevant." The next week turned into torture. At home, I played the role of the model husband. At work, the professional. But every time I saw Rebecca in the hallway, my heart started racing wildly. "Honey, you seem distracted," Emily noticed during dinner. "Maybe you should see a doctor." "Just tired," I brushed it off. "Lots of work before Christmas." At night, I lay awake, replaying the events of that night in my head. The scent of her perfume, the taste of her lips, the heat of her body, it all haunted me. On Friday, we accidentally met in the elevator. Alone, the tension could be cut with a knife. "How's Emily?" she asked, watching the floor numbers. "Fine, worried about you." "About me?" She laughed nervously. "How ironic." The elevator stopped. We got out, but I noticed her secretly wiping away a tear. In the evening, I got a call from Emily. "Mom's acting strange. Says she wants to quit and move to Florida." Everything inside me dropped. Maybe she needs a change of scenery? But why now? She loves her job. I didn't know what to answer. Guilt was eating me up inside. On the weekend, we went to the countryside. Emily insisted on a picnic. "We haven't gone anywhere together in a while," she said. Looking at her smiling face, I hated myself more and more. In the evening, I got a message from Rebecca. "We need to talk. Tomorrow, after work." "Okay," I replied, knowing this conversation was inevitable. The conversation took place in her office. I came last when everyone else had left. "I've submitted my resignation," Rebecca said without preamble. "Because of me," I sat across from her. "Because of us, it's better this way." "Are you really going to Florida?" "I don't know, maybe." She stood and walked to the window. "I can't stay here." "Why?" "Because every time I see you, I want to—" She broke off. "This is wrong. You're my daughter's husband." I approached her from behind. "What if—" "No!" She turned sharply. "Don't even think about it!" Our faces were too close. Her breathing quickened. Her eyes darkened. "We shouldn't," she whispered, but her hands were already sliding across my chest. The kiss was fierce, desperate. We kissed as if it was the last time in our lives. "Stop!" She pushed me away. "This is madness." "I know." I tried to catch my breath. "But I can't stop thinking about you." "Neither can I." She ran her hand over her face. "God, what are we going to do?" We agreed to stay away from each other, but fate seemed to be mocking us. The next day, we were sent together to a conference in New York. "I'm not going," Rebecca told the boss. "This is an important client. I need both of you there." On the train, we sat next to each other. 2 hours of silence and accidental touches drove us crazy. At the hotel, we got rooms on different floors. "It's safer this way," Rebecca said. The whole day was spent in negotiations, and in the evening, I knocked on her door, just to discuss tomorrow's presentation. She opened the door. She was wearing a silk robe. "Leave," she whispered. I didn't leave. That night became a continuation of our madness. We understood that we were crossing all possible boundaries, but we couldn't stop anymore, completely giving in to the feelings that overwhelmed us. "I love you," slipped out of me. She started crying. In the morning, we returned to Boston, pretended nothing had happened. But something had changed. We couldn't pretend anymore. Secret meetings began, in cafes far from the office, in parks, in hotels. "This is the last time," we would say each time. And we knew we were lying. "Have you noticed something's going on between Rebecca and that manager?" I overheard a conversation in the break room. "Yes, they often have lunch together." And at the conference in New York. I quickly left, feeling my back turn cold. Rumors were the last thing we needed. We need to be more careful, I told Rebecca at our next meeting. I know there are whispers in the office. She nervously fidgeted with a napkin. Maybe it's a sign? What kind? That it's time to stop. But we couldn't. The greater the danger of exposure, the stronger we were drawn to each other. Emily also started to suspect something. Not about the affair with her mother. That was too incredible. But she felt the changes. You've become different, she said one evening. Distant. Really? Just lots of work. It's not about work. You're like you're not here. What are you constantly thinking about? Nothing special. Chris, she took my hand. Is there someone else? I went cold. What makes you think that? Woman's intuition. She smiled sadly. I hope I'm wrong. That night I didn't sleep a wink. I lay next to sleeping Emily and thought about Rebecca. The next day, everything almost came out. Emily decided to surprise us. She came to the office with lunch. Rebecca and I were just in the conference room, alone, too close to each other. Mom? Chris? Emily froze in the doorway. Sweetheart. Rebecca jumped away from me. What a surprise. Thought I'd visit you. Emily looked back and forth between me and her mother. What are you doing here? Discussing a new project, I tried to speak calmly. Very important client. Yes, exactly, Rebecca chimed in. Sit down, dear. What have you got there? Emily took out food containers, but I could see something was troubling her. After this incident, Rebecca and I decided to take a break. We didn't meet alone for a week. It was the worst week of my life. Looks like you're sick, my colleague Jim said. You look terrible. I felt terrible, longing for Rebecca, tortured by guilt towards Emily. The climax came unexpectedly. Friday evening, Rebecca called, Come to the park, we need to talk. She was waiting for me on a bench by the pond. I can't go on like this anymore, she said instead of a greeting. Neither can I. What are we going to do, Chris? We've trapped ourselves. I sat next to her. I know, but I love you. And I love you. And I hate myself for it. She covered her face with her hands. I'm a terrible mother. Don't say that. It's true. What kind of mother sleeps with her daughter's husband? What kind of husband falls in love with his wife's mother? We sat in silence. A young couple with a dog ran past. So carefree, so happy. I received a job offer, Rebecca finally said, in Florida. Will you accept? Do I have a choice? We can't continue living like this. We could leave together, the words came out on their own. She laughed bitterly. And what would we tell Emily? The truth. It would kill her. And this way we're slowly killing ourselves. Rebecca turned to me. Are you really ready to give up everything? Your job, home, reputation? For you, yes. And am I ready to lose my daughter? Silence again. Thunder rumbled somewhere in the distance. A storm was gathering. You know, Rebecca sighed, they say love conquers all, but sometimes love causes too much pain. So what do we do? Maybe I should just leave. Alone, start a new life. What about us? Us? She smiled sadly. We're a beautiful mistake, Chris. A wonderful dream that we need to wake up from. I don't want to wake up. But we have to. The first raindrops fell on the asphalt. We sat holding hands, knowing we had to make a decision. The phone in my pocket vibrated. Emily was calling. Answer it, Rebecca said quietly. She's your wife. I looked at the phone screen, and my whole life seemed frozen in that moment. One call, one decision, one destiny. The rain intensified, but we didn't move. A choice had to be made. But which one? The phone kept ringing as we sat in the rain, not knowing how to go on living. Sometimes the most important decisions in life are the ones we can't make immediately. Because any choice will be painful. Because sometimes in life there are no right answers. There are only decisions with consequences we'll have to live with. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.